In this video, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at how to deal with different types of equations that involve rational numbers. And by rational numbers, what we're really talking about are fractions and decimals. So we'll have equations that either give a rational answer or have a rational number as a coefficient. The first two we're going to look at here are equations that are going to give us rational answers. So the first one in green is negative 3a equals 1. So inverse operations would tell us that we need to undo the coefficient that's being multiplied by the a. So the opposite of multiplying a by negative 3 is to divide by negative 3. And we'll do the same thing on the right to use the property of equality. The negative 3's cancel out, which leaves us with a on the left, and on the right we have 1 over negative 3. Well, the thing is that's a number. 1 over negative 3 is actually a fraction, so we'll just bring that down. 1 over 3, and because it's negative, we can put the negative sign wherever we want, with the numerator, the denominator, or out front. So I'll just put it with the numerator. Our second example here is negative 5h equals negative 12. So likewise, we're going to use our inverse operations. The opposite of multiplying by negative 5 is to divide by negative 5. And property of equality says what we do on the left, we do on the right. So we'll divide by negative 5 there as well. So the negative 5's on the left cancel out, leaving us with a value of h. And then negative 12 and negative 5. Remember, that's a negative divided by a negative is a positive. And since we have 12 over 5, I'll just write that as 12 over 5. Or if you prefer, you could put that into a mixed number, which is 2 and 2/5. Or you could write that as a decimal, 2.4. Any one of these three answers are going to be acceptable. The second type of equations that involve rational numbers are ones that have a coefficient as a fraction. So if we take a look here, you'll see that we have 1/3 as the coefficient, or the number being multiplied by the variable, and in the equation on the left we have negative 3/5 as our coefficient. Now the key to these ones is using what is called the multiplicative inverse. The multiplicative inverse. Now, the multiplicative inverse is just a math property that tells us that two numbers that are multiplied together equal 1. So, for instance, if we had a number in the form of a over b, the multiplicative inverse of that is just the reciprocal, which would be b over a. So those two numbers equal 1. So just as a quick example, if we had 1 over 2, the multiplicative inverse is 2 over 1, which is 1 times 2 is 2, 2 times 1 is 2, which equals 1. And likewise, if we even had some weird numbers, let's say like 3 over 7, the multiplicative inverse, or the reciprocal, is 7 over 3. And if you remember from other fraction work, we can cross cancel and cross cancel, which gives us a value of 1. So we're going to make use of the multiplicative inverse when solving these. So let's take a look at the equation in red. 1 over 3w, or 1/3 w, equals negative 4. The multiplicative inverse of 1/3 is 3 over 1, and I'll put that in parentheses to show that I'm multiplying. And property of equality says what I do to the left, I do to the right. 3 over 1. So these are going to cross cancel, leaving me with a value of w on the left. And now I have negative 4 times 3 over 1. Well, negative 4 times 3 is negative 12, and then divide by 1 is still negative 12. So w equals negative 12. We'll do the same thing with the equation in blue. So in this case now I have 3/5. Well, the multiplicative inverse of that is 5 over 3. And I also want to make sure I cancel out that negative sign. So because this is negative, I need this to also be negative. And likewise, property of equality says what I do to the left, I do to the right. So I'll multiply the right side by negative 5 over 3 as well. The 3's cancel out, the 5's cancel out, And those little negative signs, they cancel out because they make a positive, leaving me with G on the left. And now 6 times 5 is 30. 30 divided by 3 is 10. So I'll just do 6 times 5 is 30. And 30 divided by 3 is 10. And because there's a negative sign there, that is negative 10. So that's how we can use the multiplicative inverse to help us solve equations and have a rational number as a coefficient.